Hi, Matt Landsman here, board certified criminal trial attorney. I wanted to talk to everybody about how critical time is in a criminal case and go through a number of things that are important in terms of time in a criminal case and why it's so important. And in the conclusion would be why it's so important to have an attorney, get an attorney who really knows what they're doing, and get that attorney working for you as fast as possible. No matter what kind of case you have, this advice is most likely going to be useful for you, even if you've gone past one of these stages or something I'm talking about. Because better late than never. It's better to have somebody involved in your case who knows what they're doing and knows what to look out for and how to make things get the best possible result, even if you have gone a little further in terms of your time in terms of hiring an attorney. So let me explain first of all that it's going to be broken into three categories. Uh, there's basically the first is that where time is critical is when it comes to your contacts with the police or the agents of law enforcement. When that happens, having an attorney can really change how that occurs and what is done about it. The second kind of area where it's important to have an attorney and have one fast and where time is critical is when it comes to contacts with the court. Contacts with the court can be very time sensitive and they can affect the outcome of your case a lot. I'll get to that in a minute. And lastly, you're going to want to know about why is it critical to have an attorney and in terms of evidence, in terms of collecting evidence, using evidence. We'll go through that. But those are kind of the three areas: contacts with law enforcement, contacts with the court, and contacts, and in terms of control or understanding of evidence, those are going to be the three areas where time is critical. And you're going to want an attorney and you're going to want to have a good one as fast as possible. So let me talk about the first ones first, which is contacts with law enforcement. There's really, uh, there's really going to be three things within contacts with law enforcement where it really helps to have an attorney who knows what they're doing fast, and that has to do with whether or not you're speaking to the police. That's the first question. Should you speak to the police? Under what circumstances? Um, Typically, everybody wants to remain. You should remain silent and ask for an attorney, but that doesn't mean there aren't exceptions to that broad kind of concept. And you're going to want to be able to speak to an attorney as fast as possible about that. And that's usually going to happen very early, maybe even before an arrest takes place or a charging decision takes place. And the police enter any sort of contact with you with a plan. And without an attorney, you're really not going to have the experience or the knowledge to know how to develop your own plan or strategy for whether or not you should do it and what is actually going to happen at that interrogation or contact with the police. So the second thing when it comes to contacts with the police, it's important. It can change based on time. Are tests or collection of evidence basically about you. So some kinds of tests which can be important to know about and make decisions about early have to do with DNA, fingerprints, blood alcohol testing, breath testing, uh, blood draws, things like that are all things where you might need to make decisions and be as informed as possible as early as possible. And that can change the outcome of what happens. And the more knowledge and advice you have, the better. And the third thing having to do with contacts with law enforcement that is time sensitive is searches. So you don't have to consent to any search. You can always decline. And that's what I would normally advise people is if the police are going to search you, they will. And you should exercise your Fourth Amendment rights. But that doesn't mean there can be other problems when it comes to search warrants and what is actually being searched for and how the police go about their job. There are circumstances where you might need to ensure that there is not a destruction of property happening while it takes place. I've actually been contacted by people while the police are at their door, while somebody is being, there's an attempt to trick or mislead somebody about the scope of a search warrant or kind of make bargains with people having to do with their Fourth Amendment rights. And without knowing what your rights are and what is going to happen or what could happen, you wouldn't necessarily know if the police are basically tricking you or doing some sort of improper conduct and what kind of decision you need to make. Okay, so that's basically when it comes to time being critical and having to do with your contacts with law enforcement. The second category of thing where time can be critical is having to do with your contacts with the court. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an attorney before you go to court. It can drastically change the outcome of a proceeding. For example, in Florida, after you're arrested, you go to first appearance. The first opportunity that you have to speak to any judge or to have somebody speak on your behalf for any judge is at first appearance, where your bond is set, if one is set at all. And having an attorney there can help you understand what is going on, even if you don't necessarily follow everything that's happening at the time, because it's a very fast proceeding. An attorney could maximize your chances of reducing your bond or being released or learning crucial information that you may not understand later on that was just went right by you because it's a stressful situation. You're in custody. It's very hurried, and having an attorney there can really change the outcome. When it comes to making statements or whether or not statements are introduced into evidence, people who don't hire an attorney or don't have it fast enough, all of a sudden they will write letters to the court or they will make statements in court, which will not help you, but they will be used against you. And having an attorney who you can rely on at events like that can make sure that you minimize the chance of anything like that happening. And lastly, anytime you're going in front of a judge, there's always a concept that in the future, they may remember you if you're ever in front of them for sentencing or for any other proceeding, and what you say and how you behave can be something that is going to stick in their mind. And you probably want to put your best foot forward, and having an attorney who's looking out for your interests can help maximize that nothing untoward happens that you might regret later. And the last thing where time is really crucial, and it really helps to have, not just helps, it's essential to have an attorney on your side fast and to him to know as much as possible and be as expert as possible, has to do with the collection of evidence. And now there's two parts of that. The first would be collecting the evidence. Then that has to do with things that occur. They could things that could dissipate quickly. They could be things that involve testing, like things from your actual body that could be disappearing, like right? So like blood or things like that. Or it could be things like text messages where somebody who is not you could be trying to destroy evidence because they're trying to bolster an allegation against you. So all of a sudden this evidence that you may think is going to be there in the future, all of a sudden just disappears. And if you had somebody on your side to know what to look out for, you could try to capture that evidence before someone else destroys it. Or some evidence just disappears on its own. It gets deleted or copied over, things like that. And you're going to want to you may want things captured for yourself in the future. And it's crucial to have an attorney who knows how to capture that. But also, and it comes to using the evidence, an attorney who isn't as experienced when it comes to litigating cases and actually going to trial won't necessarily know what is important to capture now and how to use it. So the more experienced the attorney is, usually the more ideas they're going to have for evidence that could assist you in your case that could disappear and that they're going to want to capture as fast as possible. And that's kind of one of the reasons why who your attorney is really matters. But just because they're a really good attorney, if you wait too long, things that they may be able to capture early, they won't be able to capture later on. So they may be able to deal with that. However, it's generally better to have more things available to you as fast as possible. So I think those are all the reasons why time is essential in a criminal case. I hope this has been informative. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Matt Landsman, for you.